A verdict is expected tonight in the murder trial of a Kansas City woman who was once on the FBI's most wanted list. 26-year-old Shante Henderson admits she shot Deandra Parker, but she says it was self-defense.
This video from Kansas City rapper Delio is evidence in a major drug conspiracy case. The rapper's real name is Liddell Smith. Prosecutors say his videos and Instagram posts helped tie together a gang called 246.
Right, we have a developing story this midday. Police in Kansas City arrested 3 suspected gang members who may be responsible for 30 crimes.
Police saw a car drop Trevion Banks off at a home on the city's northeast side. They arrested him for robbery and then followed that car to a second location. It's there where they saw Trevante Stewart and Cedric Ford. Both of those men arrested and charged as felons in possession of firearms.
More than a month since multiple people were shot at Crown Center in Kansas City, Missouri. Today, 2 men were charged in connection to that shooting. Those men, Brian Favela and Jose Olivas.
City police arrested dozens for violent crime.
Kansas City, Missouri, a city known for jazz, barbecue, and ball players, has long carried a dual legacy. This is the hometown of Charlie Parker, Buck O'Neil, and Walt Disney's first studio. But beneath the rhythm of 18th and Vine and the glow of downtown lights, another Kansas City has existed, one forged in gunfire, greed, and survival. From the Pendergast political machine of the 1930s to the drug-fueled wars of the 1990s, Kansas City's underworld has always been part of its heartbeat. Generations of street crews, from the 51st Street Crips and 12th Street Gang to South Park Click, Young Hitters, and Clack Gang, have turned corners and neighborhoods into battlegrounds. In this documentary, we break down some of the city's most notorious gang indictments and takedowns, from the federal RICO case that dismantled the South Park Click, to the chaotic mall shootout tied to the 9th Street mob, to the infamous Shante Henderson, once one of the FBI's 10 most wanted fugitives. Each case tells part of a larger story, a story about power, revenge, and law enforcement's relentless pursuit to restore peace in one of America's most historic yet violent crossroads. This is Kansas City's hidden war, where the sounds of jazz once filled the streets and the echo of gunfire reminds everyone that history here still cuts both ways.
26-year-old Shante Henderson admits she shot Deandra Parker, but she says it was self-defense.
Oh, the judge said not guilty of second-degree murder, but guilty of voluntary manslaughter.
I was scared I was going to lose my life.
Shante Henderson says she was afraid of 20-year-old Deandra Parker back on September 2nd, 2006. They ran into each other at a South Kansas City gas station that afternoon. He was walking out. She was heading in.
I glanced, and at the same time, he's looking up. I saw him immediately, like, in a deep stare, like I'm staring at you right now. We know something's going on.
Parker's girlfriend says suddenly Shante Henderson pulled a .40 caliber gun and began firing. Then the girlfriend says Parker tried to drive away.
His attempt was too late by the time he realized that he made a choice whether he was going to attempt to try to save me or move the car. And he saved me versus moving the car.
Henderson testified it happened the other way around, that Parker started driving at her, then she grabbed her gun.
So when I jumped backwards, I'm like cornered with an ice machine and just like a corner. So as I jump back and get in that corner, turns the wheel, come towards me again, which gave me no choice but to pull out my gun and start shooting.
Shante Henderson rose to infamy as a rare female shot caller in Kansas City's largely male gang landscape, tied to the 12th Street Gang and linked by investigators to a spate of East Side violence. She was wanted for the September 2, 2006 gas station demise of 21-year-old Deandra Parker, an execution-style shooting that became the centerpiece of her case. As retaliatory shootings mounted in early 2007, the FBI placed Henderson on its 10 most wanted fugitives list, only the 8th woman ever named, before Kansas City police and federal agents captured her without incident at a North KC apartment on March 31, 2007. In state court, she claimed self-defense, but was convicted of voluntary manslaughter and armed criminal action for Parker's death and sent to prison. After her release, Henderson reoffended. In October 2010, she was caught with a handgun, leading to a federal felon in possession conviction. In April 2012, a federal judge sentenced her to 87 months, 7 years, 3 months with no parole, citing her prior violent record. Henderson's trajectory from most wanted fugitive to state and federal inmate became synonymous with the deadly stakes of Kansas City's gang feuds, and law enforcement credited her removal with helping cool a cycle of retaliatory shootings on the east side.
First, we have some breaking news. 2 men now face charges in the Crown Center shooting that hurt 6 people back in January. Charges against 23-year-old Jose Olivas and 22-year-old Brian Favola include unlawful use of a weapon and terroristic threat. It's been more than a month since multiple people were shot at Crown Center in Kansas City, Missouri. Today, 2 men were charged in connection to that shooting. Those men, Brian Favola and Jose Olivas, were showing their mugshots because of the notoriety of this case.
This is another recent example of an argument between groups that led to a shooting. 6 people were hurt last month at Crown Center. Today, we learned 3 of those injured were not a part of the argument. A judge unsealed documents today that showed Jose Olivas, 23, and Brian Favola, 22, collectively face 26 felony charges. The most serious charges include armed criminal action and first-degree terroristic threat. Court documents show witnesses said they heard the men shooting while families and small kids were nearby.
It just sounded kind of like a muffled pop, 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 pop. But mostly I was hearing it was like the ricocheting and the glass, because basically they don't have any aim. There was just bullets flying everywhere.
Court documents say the shooting was gang-related.
On January 17, 2024, a simmering rivalry between Kansas City crews burst into a gunfight inside Crown Center, one of downtown's busiest malls. Prosecutors say 9th Street mob affiliates Joel Olivas and Brian Favola spotted rival West Side gang members at the complex after seeing social media posts and drove over to force a confrontation. Surveillance video and phone evidence later showed Olivas filming himself in the mall, taunting the other group and bragging he was ready with a machine pistol set up at MAC-10 with an illegal switch as tensions escalated near the lower-level food court seconds later. Gunfire erupted across a crowded corridor. Crime scene techs recovered 54 spent casings in multiple calibers. 6 people were hit, including uninvolved bystanders, a woman on a date, a mall employee, and a man working on a video project. Miraculously, none of the injuries were life-threatening. Detectives identified Olivas and Favola from video and messages. Both fled, but were arrested the next day. Olivas at KCIA as he tried to board a flight. Favola at a residence after officers tailed a vehicle from the airport. Once both were in custody, the case had been kept under seal to protect officers while they hunted the suspects. Jackson County prosecutors charged them with 26 felonies each, including unlawful use of a weapon, multiple counts of armed criminal action, first-degree terroristic threat, and harassment. In November 2024, a judge found both men guilty on several counts, concluding their conduct went far beyond any plausible self-defense under Missouri law because it recklessly endangered the public in a packed commercial space. The following month, each was sentenced to 18 years in prison for their roles in the Crown Center mass shooting, an outcome prosecutors framed as a clear statement that bringing a street war into a family mall will draw steep accountability.
That with these 3 members of the Young Hitters gang off the streets, he's hopeful that victims of crimes and witnesses will come forward without fear of retaliation and help them connect these 3 men to those 30 or so crimes, including homicides. These arrests all went down on Wednesday. Police saw a car drop Trevion Banks off at a home on the city's northeast side. They arrested him for robbery and then followed that car to a second location. It's there where they saw Trevante Stewart and Cedric Ford. Both of those men arrested and charged as felons in possession of firearms. The police department does work with several organizations as part of the NOVA program, which offers violent offenders a chance to give up crime and and follow a program to become contributing members of society.
In late 2017, Kansas City police zeroed in on a violent crew known as the Young Hitters, and on November 29, arrested 3 alleged members who investigators believed were linked to roughly 10 homicides and more than 20 other crimes across the metro. All 3 were already flagged on the No Violence Alliance list of high-risk offenders. Detectives tracking Banks near I-70 moved to stop a vehicle tied to him, triggering a brief pursuit. Banks bolted on foot and was caught. Stewart, a passenger, ran through nearby yards and discarded a handgun later recovered by officers. And Ford fled by car, struck a detective's vehicle near East 26th and Jackson, overturned, and was taken into custody after a handgun was found near the crash. Banks was charged with armed robbery, while Stewart and Ford, both convicted felons, were charged with illegal possession of firearms. The strategy was twofold: incapacitate suspected shooters with strong federal gun and robbery counts, and reduce witness intimidation by removing key players from the street. Banks later pleaded guilty to the robbery charge.
The family will gather to remember a 3-year-old girl and her mother. Somebody shot this little girl and her mom last night inside their home at 55th and Wabash. Earlier today, the relatives of the 2 victims went door to door in that neighborhood, desperately searching for answers in that double homicide. There was 1 survivor in the attack, a 1-year-old boy. He was found crying from police on the floor with his mother and sister's bodies nearby. The family does not believe this was a random act of kindness.
Rashawn Long, an entrenched member of Kansas City's 51st Street Crips, became one of the Metro's most feared enforcers after his release from a prior deletion sentence in 2013. According to testimony presented at his federal sentencing, investigators tied Long to 5 deletions spanning more than a decade, including a string of 4 in the summer of 2013. The execution-style demise of 24-year-old Maisha Turner and her 3-year-old daughter inside their home, a man shot in his driveway weeks later, and a separate drive-by slaying carried out with an AK-47. Rather than prosecute those homicides federally, prosecutors used powerful drug and gun charges to incapacitate him. A 2014 jury found Long already a convicted felon, guilty of possessing a firearm and the synthetic stimulant bath salts. At the 2016 sentencing, the judge departed upward, citing Long's long-documented gang role and the violence outlined by detectives, and imposed a 30-year federal term with no parole. The result effectively removed a prolific trigger puller from Kansas City streets. While the 2013 deletions were referenced as aggravating conduct rather than charged counts, the court made clear that Long's conduct and the fear he generated warranted the maximum federal penalty available under the K-24. Kansas City and Jackson County launched a 5-day, multi-agency sweep targeting a gang believed behind a recent wave of shootings and overdoses. In total, 33 people with outstanding warrants were arrested, many tied to a crew under intense scrutiny. Among those taken into custody was a 20-year-old suspect from a January 2023 shooting had reported a drop in group-related shootings in the weeks that followed. The Jackson County Prosecutor's Office emphasized that while arrests remove immediate threats, the long-term strategy relies on pairing enforcement with intervention job training, counseling, housing. Kansas City leaders pledged to continue this collaborative, intelligence-led approach, signaling that future sweeps will be part of a sustained campaign, not a one-time show of force. In August 2023, federal prosecutors unsealed a racketeering case that stitched together 3 Kansas City street crews, the Parkside Greasies, Clack Gang, and South Bending Gang into a single alleged confederation known as the South Park Clique. Investigators say the alliance, led by Stephen Bizzle, Lee Parkside Greasies, Charles Chucky D. Williams Clack, and Travis Trav Cook South Benton, coordinated for more than a decade to traffic drugs while enforcing their market with shootings, robberies, and intimidation. The indictment traces activity to at least 2008, including a deletion for hire plot prosecutors attribute to Lee in late 2017 and a January 2021 shooting in which Richard Scritch Johnson allegedly fired into vehicles he believed were rivals, wounding a bystander. A multi-agency sweep on August 24, 2023 brought more than 140 officers to 16 locations, seizing 27 firearms including 2 machine guns, over 1,000 rounds of ammunition, drugs, and cash, and arresting several defendants. Others were already in custody on unrelated charges. 9 men now face federal counts that include RICO conspiracy, drug trafficking conspiracy, and a deletion conspiracy in aid of racketeering charges that, on conviction, can carry life sentences. As of the latest updates, the case remains pending. All defendants are presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty. In the early morning hours of March 4, 2020, Kansas City police responded to gunfire near 10th Street and Brooklyn Avenue, where they discovered Dundre Magis, fatally shot in the street. Witnesses reported 2 hooded suspects had approached Magis and opened fire. Surveillance footage and tipsters soon pointed detectives towards Samoan Harder and Q Jackson, who were arrested 2 days later at a nearby home. Inside, officers recovered a 9 handgun and hooded sweatshirts matching those seen in surveillance clips. Forensic ballistics linked the casings from the scene to the seized weapon. In interviews, Harder admitted that he and Jackson were the shooters, claiming Jackson pulled the trigger. Jackson denied involvement. Investigators tied both suspects to local gang affiliations. Harder and Jackson were allegedly allied with a 12th Street gang, rivals of a 33rd Street gang, and the confrontation may have stemmed from Jackson asking Magis which block he's from, to which Magis reportedly answered 33, provoking the attack. Jackson also faced allegations of prior involvement in armed robberies, reinforcing a portrait of a gang-embedded trajectory. Harder and Jackson were both charged with second-degree deletion and armed criminal action, and Harder additionally faced a tampering with evidence count for allegedly trying to conceal or dispose of the gun.
This video from Kansas City rapper Delio is evidence in a major drug conspiracy case. The rapper's real name is Liddell Smith. Prosecutors say his videos and Instagram posts helped tie together a gang called 246. After watching a home at 45th and Kensington, officials planned a raid involving 200 law enforcement officers. Prosecutors say they found 23 guns along with. They also arrested 20 men.
Yeah, that's easy for us, though.
Prosecutors say David Duncan, known as Deej, discusses forming the gang in this video.
Yeah, that way. The Wabash way, the money way, the gang way.
During the raid, Duncan was allegedly found with 3 guns, including an AK-47. At the home, officials also say they found a stolen Jeep riddled with bullet holes and with live ammunition and casings inside.
In a long-term investigation involving the FBI, Kansas City Police Department, KCPD, and the IRS, arrests were made of individuals allegedly associated with a group known as 246. The investigation uncovered a range of activities including drug distribution, violent incidents, and the group's presence on social media platforms. Several members had been sharing content such as rap videos, Instagram posts, and YouTube uploads that authorities believe were linked to the group. Among the evidence collected was a YouTube video from October 9, 2017, featuring David Duncan, one of the suspects. In the video, Duncan, identified as Heavy Pockets, is seen wearing a hat with the numbers 2.4, 6 and gold and diamond necklaces. Duncan explains the origins of the 246 group, detailing how he and his associates from different neighborhoods 24th, 43rd, and 68th came together under the 246 moniker. Authorities later arrested Duncan during a raid, recovering 3 firearms, cash, and other items of interest from his residence. The investigation also highlighted the alleged involvement of Liddell Smith, a well-known rapper in Kansas City. Smith was believed to be connected to a drug supply network in Kansas during 2017 and 2018, and authorities suspect he fled to Los Angeles after learning of a planned operation. Social media content linked to Smith and other suspects, including Martin Garner, showed references to 246 and depicted firearms and cash. Charging documents described 2 separate incidents of gunfire involving members of 246. In one case, Martin Garner and Surico Franklin were targeted while traveling in a rental car. The vehicle was later found abandoned with bullet holes, indicating a significant shootout had occurred. Following the incident, videos posted online by Smith and Garner showed them holding weapons, with Garner making threats of retaliation. The investigation into 246 involved extensive surveillance efforts, including undercover operations and the use of pole cameras to monitor key locations. Authorities were able to track the movements of suspects and gather information on potential violent acts. In another shootout on September 9, Roy Franklin was seen on surveillance video transferring guns into a Jeep Cherokee before being involved in gunfire near 35th and Woodland. Witnesses reported seeing a passenger shooting from the vehicle, which was later found damaged and hidden at a Kensington residence. According to confidential sources, the group had been targeting individuals from a rival street gang. Authorities believe Duncan, concerned about a $50,000 contract on his life, called on Franklin and Smith to carry out a deletion of individuals he perceived as threats. During a coordinated raid, authorities found the Jeep and other evidence connected to the group, ultimately leading to the arrests of key members.
Kansas City gang members have been indicted as part of a nationwide sweep by the Department of Justice. The 7 members of the Clack gang are charged with conspiracy to distribute crack. 3 of the guns seized from the gang were used in shootings, 1 in a homicide, according to police. The Jackson County prosecutor says eliminating gangs eventually means eliminating.
The investigation focused on the activities of individuals identifying themselves as members of the Clack gang, a group whose name is derived from the sound associated with cocking a firearm or racking the slide of a semi-automatic handgun. This association is supported by the number of semi-automatic handguns recovered from the gang, as well as photos and videos of members with firearms. The Clack gang primarily operates in a section of Kansas City bordered by 27th Street, Emmanuel Cleaver Boulevard, Jackson Avenue, and the Paseo. Throughout the investigation, law enforcement officers recovered over 20 firearms and various drugs. 3 of the recovered firearms were linked to shootings involving injuries, and 1 was connected to an unsolved deletion case. Several of the firearms were reported stolen, with 1 coming from as far away as Arizona. Additionally, 1 of the recovered firearms had been illegally modified into a sawed-off shotgun. Bifford, a singer who goes by the street name Two Gun Kevy, is featured on at least 1 CD cover where he is depicted with his face covered by a bandana and holding 2 firearms: a polymer-framed semi-automatic handgun with an extended magazine, and a machine pistol. During the execution of a search warrant at a residence on the 3700 block of Wabash Avenue, officers recovered a video camera containing footage that included various individuals showing gang affiliation, the use, sale, and possession of controlled substances, firearm possession, and evidence of collaboration in drug distribution activities.
In mid-September 2016, Kansas City launched a sweeping 2-day manhunt focused on the city's most violent fugitives. Dubbed Operation Street Audit, law enforcement marshaled 134 officers and agents from the KCPD, U.S. Marshals, FBI, and ATF, operating under the strategic umbrella of the No Violence Alliance. Their objective: clear outstanding warrants held by individuals tied to shootings, robberies, and other major felonies. Over the course of the operation, teams fanned out across more than 200 locations, executing coordinated arrests and warrants. The results were striking. 34 fugitives were taken into custody and 170 outstanding warrants, local, state, and federal, were cleared. Many of those arrested were known gang members or high-priority offenders linked to violent crime. Authorities viewed the sweep not just as arrests, but as a tactical strike against the cycle of retribution and escalation. Research cited during planning estimated that such violent offenders were 550 times more likely to become homicide victims if left at large, underscoring the urgency of removing them preemptively. In the days after, several neighborhoods saw a measurable dip in shootings and retaliatory violence. Law enforcement considered the sweep a validation of collaborative enforcement with federal and local agencies able to rapidly mobilize against street-level gun threats. Ultimately, Operation Street Audit signaled that KC's leadership was willing to deploy large-scale resources to stem violent crime and delivered a powerful message. No matter how entrenched, violent actors would be made to answer. In mid-2025, Kansas City's ICE unit arrested Mario Torres Lopez, a Mexican national with deep connections to the Sureños gang, after discovering he had illegally re-entered the U.S. for the 5th time. Torres Lopez had previously been deported in 2016, 2017, 2018, and 2022, yet repeatedly returned and continued criminal activity. While behind bars in the U.S., he formally affiliated himself with the Sureños, a gang rooted in Southern California with ties to the Mexican mafia, and maintained that connection across state lines. His criminal record is extensive. In 2012, in Indianapolis, he was arrested for resisting arrest and endangering children by illegally passing a school bus. Later, he was convicted of multiple federal illegal reentry offenses, receiving 30 days in 2017, 18 months in 2018, and 21 months in 2020. He also violated supervised release and was sent back to prison in 2022. Despite this history, Torres Lopez again crossed the border. ICE officials described him as exactly the kind of threat we are determined to find. On July 20th, 2025, ICE's Kansas City field office captured him in a targeted operation. His prior removal order was reinstated, and he remains in ICE custody pending federal prosecution for illegal reentry and future deportation. ICE praised the arrest as a success in removing a repeat gang affiliate whose pattern of crime and reentry posed a consistent danger to multiple communities. From the young hitter's arrest in 2017 to the 33-person gang sweep in 2024, every major Kansas City takedown has revealed the same truth: violence in this city runs in cycles, and every new generation inherits the scars of the last. But the story isn't just about crime, it's about resilience. Kansas City continues to rise, balancing its culture of creativity and community against the grip of its street wars. Every indictment, every federal sweep, every long sentence delivered in Jackson County Court is part of that ongoing struggle to reclaim peace. As federal and local task forces evolve, so do the gangs. The streets may change names, the alliances may shift, but Kansas City's fight for its soul continues. This isn't just another gang story. It's the untold history of a city divided between legacy and lawlessness, art and anarchy, jazz and judgment.